and welcome back to Republic Polytechnic and to Reflections Arts Festival 2020. We hope you are comfortable and safe watching from the safety of your own home. So today, my name is Saza Faradilla and I'm your host. I'll begin with a quick introduction of Reflections Arts Festival before introducing our panelists and the film for today. Reflections Arts Festival is a 3-week-long arts festival by the Republic Cultural Centre, or TRCC, at Republic Polytechnic. This year's theme is Global Local, where we look at our stories and traditions and its evolution in response to an ever-changing global landscape. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m., we screen a film by a local director that is sure to make you laugh, nod, shout, or even shed a tear or two. Last week, we had Jason Lee and Mervyn Lim to discuss with us about their film, The Viewing. That discussion definitely gave me new insights to our current climate of oversized reactions to foreign cultures. Tonight, I am honored to be joined by Randy Ang and Mei Ho with their film, Alibaba, which centers around this week's theme of inclusivity and compassion. Randy Ang is a graduate from Temasek Design School's Visual Communication, majoring in graphic and advertising. He has directed television commercials and music videos, including the Love Life project in Taiwan, featuring many renowned artists. Commercial work includes projects for P&G, AirAsia, Red Bull, the Shanghai World Expo, Singtel, UOB, and Temasek. He has produced and directed for television, including travel series Sin City, Singapore in 2010, musical Christina and the Runaways in 2011, travel series Making It Abroad in 2011, telemovie Kari Kari Christmas in 2012, and romantic comedy series Love by Numbers in 2020. So we actually tried to cut down already on his accolades, but they are never ending, so bear with me for a little while. His first directorial theatrical release film was police thriller Resolve in 2014. In 2015, he directed the feature film 1965, a film that narratively told the story of the people who lived through a racially tense period just before a country gained its independence. Randy won the Best Film at the Cathay Motion Pictures Award in 2013 and was named in the top 10 of Monocle magazine's Singapore National Survey list of directors or producers. Okay, so that's all for Randy. I hope you kept up. Next is Mei Ho. So Mei is the representative from City of Good from the National Volunteer and Philanthropy Centre, NVPC. NVPC is RP's supporting partner for today's film screening and panel discussion. Alibaba is one of 15 short films under 15 Shots that was done as a collaboration between NVPC and Blue 3 Asia. Each director dedicates their film to a charity in Singapore. Working with NVPC, the directors curated a list of charities that cover a spectrum of needs, including support for the elderly, people with autism, and migrant workers. Before we watch the show, would you like to say a couple of words, Randy and Mei?
Ladies first.
Yeah, thanks so much for tuning in today. We really hope that people enjoy this film, touches your heart, and especially in this climate, I think it's really important. Just care about the neighborliness and the caring spirit of the film.
Enjoy the film.
Thank you, Randy. So now, I won't give too much away, but be ready for an entertaining 20 minutes.
someplace else. Yeah, like the paper, so that the entire nation can read about it. How on earth can you let this go by? I don't care about how can you let someone get away with this? How can anyone get away with it?
I don't care who gets away with it. It's not going in the paper. We can't print it like this.
What do you mean?
Well, you know what it's like. Look, you can't put a name and a face of an illegal immigrant on the cover. Oh, come on, you guys know better.
A man. All right? A man was injured, and instead of helping him, his employers dumped him in a drain, left to die.
Look, I know how you feel.
I'm sorry, Chief. I really don't think you do. All right, he's not a digit or some number in some random national survey of accident statistics or illegal immigrants in Singapore. All right, he's an actual person, an actual man who was working here, and now he's injured and he can't do anything about it. Shouldn't we do something about it? You want the fluff, right? You just want the fluff.
Look, he has a name, and he has a family. They have a right to know. We all have a right to know. Look, we have written the article. It's up to you if the paper wants to print it. It's your choice.
And his picture stays.
Hello? Yes, this is Augustine.
Hi.
He's in Topai Hospital.
Yes, hang on one second. You can channel your donations to this volunteer group that's helping to collect them.
Igor, let me just get down your details a second.
Thank you.
Hey, guys. Bashar's employers were called in by the police today. So, The Immigration Authority and the Ministry of Manpower have a meeting with us at 8. And the Police Comms Department, well, they want to have a chat with us as well. Thank you. Both of you.
Have you considered other career options yet? Might be a good time to start looking.
Hey, Chief. Can I meet him? Hello, Bashar. I'm Augustine Pang, a journalist. I understand that you speak a little English.
A little.
How are you feeling?
Good. People here, good. Many people, good. Present. Money. Thank you all.
How did you find yourself in Singapore?
Come here. Work. Family. Love.
Does your family know you're alright? We're really glad that you're okay. And we're really sorry that this has happened to you.
Lift fall. I faint. I asked boss, why you throw me here? He say, shut up. Let me die. Bad Alibaba.
Did you even know that you're working in Singapore illegally?
No. I pay money. All gone. Money gone. Leg gone. Many Alibaba. Many Alibaba.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the show and that it touched you. I have to confess, for me, like the parts where Bashar was crawling on the ground, like I couldn't watch it. I skipped a lot of it because it was just so heartbreaking. So I hope you're all right. I hope you're not too sad now because I hope we can ask some questions. So we're now going to segue into the Q&A part of today's section where we can ask Randy and May. And so we have this great opportunity now with the director and the representative from NVPC, and we can ask them any question. And so if you have questions, feel free to comment it on the YouTube live, and I'll be more than happy to ask them for you. But maybe I'll just begin with one of the questions. So what does this movie mean to you? Like, and this question is for both of you. Like, what does it mean to you? Maybe you can talk about your inspiration for this movie as well.
For me, this short film, I was in poly back then, in 97, 98.
Yeah.
And I was reading a newspaper and I kind of remembered this story about Bashar and then being left to die. And I didn't study film in school, so I was doing like design advertising in poly.
Yeah.
And but for some reason, the story it's just like chucked into the back of my mind. And when approached by NVPC and Blue Trees, to choose from like stories about good that happened in Singapore in the past, I was looking through a list the first time I got it, and this story came up. It was just this small little blurb on an Excel sheet, and it triggered a memory that that story I remember, and something else that triggered it was this was like almost like a little thing that happened during my national service days, because I was serving in the police force, luckily. And then we were on patrol, and then we arrested some illegal immigrants, and they were in the back of the police car, and they keep saying Alibaba, 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 and I was like, so I asked the sergeant, like, why they keep saying Alibaba? So the sergeant explained that Alibaba meant that like thief, like somebody has stole their stuff and whatever. A lot of foreign workers actually came to Singapore and they were actually cheated. That the number of cases are very rampant. So they have a really hard time, and a lot of them are actually not. They actually paid their way. Most of them had to pay their way to be in Singapore, and they were cheated. So they came here, but they were still illegal, and they don't know. So that's why they're telling us Alibaba, Alibaba. So that moment in the car when I was in my national service also kind of like was locked into my head. So these two things, things like inspiration and all that, it's like sometimes you have this thought, like in
subconscious.
Like in the subfolder in your directory, and then the day when I received from MVPC the list of films to make, this came out and these two things came into my head, and I want to tell this story. And I mean, before even finding Augustine and find out more about the story, I wrote a very quick synopsis of what I want to do, and then I sent it over to MVPC back then, and then it was like the next day.
Oh wow!
So there were like 15 films, and Alibaba was one of the first one because it was approved very early. Because I was like, boom, got inspired, and then just do it. These things don't happen. They don't happen.
It's lucky for us.
Well, it's not lucky or unlucky. It's just sometimes these things happen, and you just have to embrace it. And as filmmakers, sometimes we tend to let these things escape us. And I think this was one of those that like captured it, and it was right time, right. Yeah, everything was right. Okay, that was it.
I think for NVPC, we're just really happy that Randy took on this film. I think with the 15 shorts films, we're really looking at not just addressing a variety of causes. So in this case of Randy's films about migrants, but also really featuring like the person. So like Augustine, I mean, it's not, Augustine's actually currently a lecturer at SMU, but at that time he was really young, right? He's a journalist, he's not even like a leader in the newsroom, he's really just any journalist. And we really wanted to captivate the idea that any Singaporean can do anything in their position. So, in the film, you'll see Augustine and his friend, other colleague trying to tell them, like, hey, we should cover this story, we know it feels right. But everyone else is telling them no. And I think in a lot of other instances right now in Singapore, like that's happening for young people. So I think that's what really this film brings. It's just a very unique character of, it could be really anyone and in your own capacity, just to kind of make a stand and give your voice.
Yeah, it's like making the invisible visible kind of situation.
Correct. I don't necessarily need to be like in a position of power or authority to do that, right?
Exactly,
Yeah, you don't have to be. I mean, if the cause is just, I think that's more important.
Correct.
Wow, so the questions are like pouring in.
You guys didn't cry, so like, okay, All right, pour it.
I think they recovered. So there's one question about what were some of the fond memories that you had while making this film?
fond memories.
Very stressed.
Significant memories that you still remember.
It's been a while. Honestly, it's been like
Yeah,
3 TV series later.
yeah.
We were watching it just now, and we were just telling a story. So like,
I know, I gotta
yeah.
like backtrack a little bit. I
Yeah.
think there's quite a lot of things. Okay, at that point of time, I finished 1965, the feature film, and I was doing a lot of commercial work to like make a living.
Ah,
So it was a period of time where I was doing a lot of stuff for banks and corporates and all that, and TVC lah. So it's a very unreal world where everybody is exceptionally good looking. So there was something that happened was that I cast. If you guys can recognize, like, I mean, your age, you probably know, because Aaron Mosadak is in like Kin and all that, and I knew Aaron because he was my intern. So, but I knew that this guy is going to be some hot shot, like hot bot in a few years, because he was trading like crazy. So I got him in it, and I told him that I want to make you look normal, Ken. So put the glasses on and all that. Michael Wang, who played Augustine, I knew him. He's actually a filmmaker. So he's a filmmaker who was a filmmaker before me. We are about the same age. He made a film called Carrot Cake Conversations, and that's how I met him. But for years, we kind of like kept in touch. He's also a lecturer. So essentially, I cast people that I know and I worked with before, because I kind of cast it in such a way that I wanted the characters to feel as realistic as possible. So, and I haven't met Augustine, the real person, which gave me so many stories and inspiration. Again, it's about triggering memories, and I thought that Michael actually really looks like Augustine.
Yeah, young Augustine.
Yeah,
see it.
he does look like
Yeah,
young,
yeah.
buffier like
Yeah,
Augustine, but
yeah.
that was cool, and he understands, and I've worked with Michael before, and I know what he can do as a director and also as act. He doesn't really act. Right. He only acts when it's right. So I had to like talk to him about it lah. So I mean, I got to respect him as a director as well. So, but it's interesting because I'm actually directing a director, which is but the way we work is like is mutual respect. Yeah. But when he asked me to act, I said no lah.
Why?
I cannot act.
Especially neutral.
But I got to mutually help Michael and say that
see.
I cannot help you, but
Right.
you can help me. You know. Yeah lah, that's funny lah. And Das, who acted as Bashar, he's actually a comedian.
Oh.
So, the other actor as the editor, he's also a comedian. So I have like 2 comedians who are acting in dramatic roles, which is great for they love it because it's a challenge for them. I think as filmmakers sometimes you want to challenge your actors and don't let the typecast become a problem. And I think that's something that happens all too often here.
Actually, then related to that, like because you're comedians, what was the kind of reason that you had produced a fiction instead of like a documentary about this issue?
Oh, I think it was in the brief.
It was what?
I think it was in the brief.
I think we have 15 shots. They're all actually true stories.
Yeah.
So I think the intention is really for the storytelling to come out. So I think with actually Daniel Yuen is our executive producer, and he's really good at creating these stories. And I think we really wanted to create short films, especially in the social media era, right? I think we really wanted to just create quality short films that also had like a very substantial messaging. And it was also a documentary would be different in the sense we wanted to do a retrospective account. So one thing we really wanted to focus on was this. We had this like question in our head. So I think now we're like in the 21st century. Singapore's doing really well. We wanted to look back. So I think Randy and Daniel worked on 1965, and then I think from there they wanted to look into more in terms of hey, in the 80s and 90s in Singapore, how did we kind of nation build, but at the same time had people that actually looked out for others. Because I think very often people think, oh, one happens before the other. So you have to, become successful first. Then you start looking around and be like, oh, can I give money to this person? Can I, help out? But it's not so linear normally.
That's the
So I think that's kind of why we kind of came out with this era and kind of went back. So I think Randy mentioned, going back to the archives, really looking at like all the stories that were there. Yeah, so it's more of that kind of retrospective.
And I think there was a curation choice also that a lot of the directors and filmmakers that were involved were narrative filmmakers and not documentary filmmakers.
I see.
So instead, because I think if we were to do this as a documentary, it's kind of meant for another
Different
platform.
crowd.
Right,
Yeah, and I think also I think allowing a lot of filmmakers like us who are more narrative driven to have a chance to do something short but be able to express it the best we can, I think it's also better. Personally, I mean, I've done my documentaries before, but I much prefer narrative as a filmmaker. And I think a lot, I can't speak for the rest of the filmmakers, but I think they're more at ease with that.
Yeah, I
with
think
that
just
genre.
to add on, I think NVPC as producer, we're really conscious of the messaging. And something that I think we really wanted to push out was the individual. So I think going back to Augustine, in all the other short films, you'll notice this one protagonist that's very ordinary, but he kind of has a messaging of how he grows throughout this journey. And really, I think that was really key because in Singapore, based on our good study research, we realized that in Singapore, a lot of people depend on like businesses, non-profits, governments to give back, more so than any other country. So I think what we really wanted to push was this idea that, hey, individuals can give back. You can be really ordinary, have that one person that kind of just helps out. Yeah.
I see. What do you think of like the narrative of like maybe nation building or the plight of migrant workers? What do you think is its relevance to today's situation?
Yeah, that's a very good shout. I think something actually, I spoke to Augustine, I think 1 or 2 years ago, and I was asking him, like, you know, what has changed for you? What do you think about, you know, the plight of migrant workers these days?
Right.
I think what he said really struck me. He said, people don't realize, but it's just human to human. And I still remember those 5 words today, because I think that really hit me. A lot of people think of, you know, foreign, local, other, us, we, them, and he's just like, no, we are the same word, it's human. And people don't realize it's enough. So, I mean, here at NVPC, we're always advocating people to help out, especially this year where it's been really tough for migrant workers. We have them under a humanitarian cause and giving.sg, so we really encourage people to give back and I think just integrate them as part of the country.
Yeah, I think I think there's. I'll just jump to something that probably you want to ask me later because I think it helps with this one. I think, of course, when we made this a couple of years back, we don't know that the situation will be 2020, like what we have gone through this year, and I think there's giving.sg and all these ways that we can give money and all that, but I think as a people, we have to not be xenophobic. I think that is probably the worst. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff. There's racism and all that involved in it, but I think xenophobia is one of the worst things that can happen to a developing country. And Singapore as a melting pot, as a country that embraces like migrants, we as Singaporeans especially, not even like giving money and all that, but it's our part and how we look at things. I think that's, to me, I think that how you look at human beings as a collective is very important. Besides just migrant workers who are construction workers, migrant workers who are in our homes, you know, helping us with our kids, helping us with our elderly. I mean, our helpers at home are also migrant workers. I mean, they have left their families to come here to work. How are you treating them? You know, how are they integrated into your lifestyle? I mean, I don't have a helper at home because me and my wife, we don't want that situation. We are uncomfortable with that situation. But a lot of families have helpers because it's necessary. Especially with younger kids or you have older parents, you also need to work. I mean, for RP students, you probably, if you have a helper at home, she's helping you a lot. You know, your clothes are ironed. I had to iron my T-shirt today myself. You know, so it's you have to treat human beings as human beings. I think that is something that I'm probably a little bit irritated about the world today. Yeah, that's very personal.
How do you think we can sustain these sort of like conversations? Because I think Alibaba created a conversation 1970 when the story broke that created another conversation. The migrant workers dormitory situation, created an uproar. But these are often not sustained and they don't really lead to structural change. So how do you think we can get there?
Well, I think structural change is probably a little bit harder to establish. But you see, because of all this different situation, a lot of groups actually appear. Whether it's a volunteer group or a Facebook group or whatever. I think different groups start to appear when situation happen. The next question would be, is sustaining that conversation as important as living it? I think, there's always causes that you can support, but what's the personal value you have? What's your value as a human being in terms of that situation? I think is more important. Yeah.
Bouncing off, I think what Randy shared, I think one thing for NVPC and even 15 Shots, one thing was really key was this ground-up nature. So I think I spoke about how we didn't want people to depend on, oh, is this institution doing anything? Are these people doing anything? Why is someone not doing something? It was really about, what I can do.
Yeah.
And I think what Randy mentioned is true. This year especially, a lot of ground-ups have appeared to kind of support migrant workers in their own little ways. Giving food, giving emergency relief, hearing about, if this person have a problem. I think even when the news broke up during COVID, there were translation workers. There were all these kind of different people helping out in their own way. So I think something NEPC really advocates is that you can give your time, talent, treasure, voice. Something looking at like the migrant worker situation. Maybe you're like skilled in a certain language. Maybe you're a driver, can help deliver food. I think there's a range of ways to volunteer and give back, and it can be really small. I think some people think you must donate a lot of things, but I've had friends that, for instance, are they have a hobby of drawing. So they'll draw their friend a card, if the friend donates to Migrant Worker Center, for instance. So I think it's the little things that people can do, and I think realize that, I think like what he said, is really how you live, and just do little bits of good. I think that's what in the City of Good we really advocate.
Yeah, I guess to use our skills and our knowledge and our expertise and even our privileges to uplift those who might be less privileged than us. What were some challenges or setbacks that you faced while filming the film? Pre, post, during production?
No problem.
No problem?
It was very smooth. It's a very smooth production. Because I worked with, this was the kind of project that I can rally up people who I want to work with.
Right.
And I think that's the kind of spirit that we have in the team who worked on this. From Jack, the DOP, producer Nick, had some student interns who helped as well, who became filmmakers in their own right now. Most of the actors I know, which is cool. Even editing, we edited it ourselves. My wife did the music.
Wow.
So it's quite a nice cohesive system, and it was okay. It's very smooth. So nothing to talk about. So a bit funny, yeah.
No, that's great though. You have no problems.
If I really need to squeeze a problem,
you
which
don't need to.
Oh, I don't need to. I can squeeze a problem.
Okay, sure.
I forgot. Okay, it's not funny. Okay.
It's not funny. Okay.
It's funny. Okay, we forgot. We tried to arrange for Bashar's character to shower himself where he's in the jungle.
Okay.
And then we had this little thingy that you can press and shower. Not very effective.
Okay, so that's why we don't see it, is it?
No, he was still quite dirty when he left. But but that's small. That's small.
Yeah. I see. Okay. So someone's asking, were there any points during the filming you felt like stopping?
Guys, when you make film, and whatever happened, you have to continue. The show must go on. You cry also must continue.
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I just remembered. Okay, so Bashar threw the coin, right?
Yes.
Okay, and there were the soldiers at the back, and no budget, right? Small little budget, not no budget, small little budget. And my producer Nick, who is my best friend, is playing one of the soldiers, and he was standing there. So Bashar threw the coin, right? And the coin actually hit his eye, and it causes a cut. So actually got challenges. Just remember.
Yeah, that's a little problem. I think that's
It wasn't a big problem. It was just a lot of blood gushing. No problem.
Yeah.
No, guys, blood. Cannot say problem. Yeah, I said no problem. No, but anyway,
Stoic.
he got hit by the. So Nick, that's why you never see the soldier's face because he was bleeding from the coin. That
Oh
was
my god, so
thrown.
you continued like
Yeah,
shooting?
we just shoot lah. Yeah, but actually not big of a problem. I just like wash it off and all that. Nick is a medic,
Oh.
so he medic himself.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That was probably, it
He was my medic on set,
Uh-huh.
just in case anything happened, and then he medic himself lah.
was like a test. It was like,
I just remember it's the stupid coin. Yeah.
But wow, that must be a very like heavy coin or something.
No, it's just damn chun.
it's the
the
pace of
aim,
it. Yeah, it's the pace of it. as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And it's just kena.
Not really caught in the moment.
Wow, I see. Okay. Building on that, do you have any advice for like young filmmakers? Because we have a lot of RP students watching right now, and so some of them will go into the industry as well.
Okay, it's very challenging times this year. I have a lot of projects this year that's been put on hold.
Oh.
So the project I was supposed to do earlier this year, that means like early this year, I'm only shooting like in 2 weeks' time, in November. It's challenging going forward in this new normal. We kind of have to adjust and probably have to ride it out for a little while. And as much as we want to tell stories, I mean, I have stories that I want to shoot in China and all that. I can't go and shoot them now. So we just have to be a little bit more, not reserved. I think it's a good time to be more introspective.
Okay.
And I think it's a time for you to be writing and gathering like your resource, so that it's just like, okay, for anything with creativity involved, for me personally, it's about having a storage bank of memories, like experiences, which is why I could come up with this story. And it's a good time to think about where we are. I think May was talking about like we are the COVID-19 generation. Yeah, I think that is that's something that not many people are going to live through. So maybe it's a good time at the moment to be crafting stories, because I think the budgets in Singapore are never going to be great.
Right.
Okay, I mean that's a reality. Our domestic, the domestic market is really small. So which makes us as filmmakers, it becomes very important for filmmakers to tell even more compelling stories, and stories that matter.
Right.
I mean, we can do very frivolous stuff to make a living, but at the back of our mind, we should have something that you want to tell. And I think that's something that I don't want to tell younger filmmakers be passionate and all that, because, okay, but I would rather that you actually have something to say.
Okay.
And even if you can't say it at this point of time, it's okay. There might be a time for it to happen. Just like Alibaba.
Yeah. From like when you were in poly, 20 years ago.
Yeah, but it was just a seed of an idea
Yeah.
that never like, I didn't take an article and like, wow, I want to make this film.
Yeah.
It's not like that. Yeah, and I think it shouldn't be like that. Yeah, I think it should be a little bit more natural and let it sit in.
Okay. Me, could you share with us a little bit more about 15 Shots and City of Good?
Yeah, sure. So for 15 Shorts, it's something that came up, I think, a few years ago. So I think what happened is basically NDPC. So we're a non-profit that takes care of kind of a range of non-profits in Singapore and also have the City of Good vision. We collaborated with Blue Tree Asia, so they're film producers. And we came together to kind of create these short films. So that films were good. The idea that a story can really change someone, inspire someone to learn more about a cause. So I think, like example, what you watched on Alibaba, that is seeing what it really means to be a migrant, really having the empathy, especially at the time, like understanding what it was like, and then learning more about the cause, and then knowing how to help out. So for instance, the short film for Alibaba was dedicated to Help Serve. Yeah. So I think like all these films are under kind of our City of Good pillar, which is about people, organizations, leaders doing good in Singapore. What we really focus on is like people giving their best. So this idea in Singapore, people are actually quite kiasu. Known to be kiasu at least, right? And being the best.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of something in Singapore, but we wanted to spin that and say, how can you give your best to others? Be
How can you
others.
be kiasu to be good?
Correct. Spin it right.
Kiasu for
So
good.
I think also because when you say cities, right, a lot of people think of like very self-centered stuff. So I think in Singapore, we really wanted to think of, hey, Singapore, we're a small city, right? We're kind of a hustle, but also a communal spirit, there's a kampung spirit somewhere. So I think the City of Good is really kind of about that. And right now on our Facebook and Instagram, we kind of just share stories of, the everyday individual doing good. You can hashtag City of Good and like also post your story.
Okay.
So it's really showing a movement coming alive, and we even now this year, despite COVID, a lot of people are doing great work. So I really recommend you just take a look on your socials.
The 15 shots are on the City of Good website or something.
Yeah, we are. So we're hosted on cityofgood.sg/15shots.
So if you want to watch the other films for the filmmakers out there, or you're just wanting to see the rest of the film, you can go to cityofgood.sg.
Yeah, I would totally recommend
There are
doing it.
there are a lot of great films out there.
Yeah. We're coming to an end already actually for the Q&A section. Do any of you have like any last words, any final words to the audience?
I still want to go home and walk my dog,
We'll make sure to be able to.
Oh, I think I do want to say, actually, talking about kind of stuff and living it, this Saturday, we're actually doing something with TEDx.
Okay.
And we have two speakers. So there's Reverend Samuel. He does the Alliance of Guest Workers Outreach. And social worker Ong Biyong. So she does Crisis Relief Alliance. So they're both speaking on a TEDx, a Zoom webinar. You can check it out on the City of Good Facebook page.
Okay.
But they've been working on like how to help migrant workers, doing phone counseling during this period, doing mental health. And I think that's really important because especially I think for migrant workers, imagine for them, a lot of them are actually far from home, helping their families get the salary to bring it back. For them, it's even more stressful actually telling the family that this is not okay. Like I'm not getting the work. Like I'm stuck in my room. Like for them, it's actually really hard. So I think like Reverend Samuel and Ong Biyong, they're doing really great work to kind of talk and let these people open up. Talking about that. So
it's really important.
Check it.
Important
just follow City of Good Facebook page. And find out
So
more.
it's City of Good, CITY of GOOD. Yeah, Randy, do you have anything?
Well, it's been a challenging year.
Yeah.
And I think I teach myself. I mean, not teach myself. I mean, I teach also in another school, and I think the feeling of a student today trying to graduate in 2020 or 2021, it's gonna be a challenging time, and I don't think we have to sugarcoat it. It's a time of you entering into the workforce, which doesn't want you in the workforce. It's the reality of it. It is a situation which I think as a country we have not faced before. I mean, Robinson's shut down.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Oh.
It's like
Okay.
you're interested in this.
Yes, and sorry, distracted by doggy.
It's not a situation we faced before as a country.
So you're entering into the work environment, which is going to be very challenging, and I think that, but I think there's an opportunity here, which is for students, because I tell this to my students as well, like you may not start with your dream job. The first job that you do may not be your dream job. It's okay, because I didn't start out as a filmmaker. And I did a lot of funny stuff along the way, but all these little things that you pick up along the way is going to add to experience. And you reach a certain point of time where you have gathered enough experience where you will be ready. And maybe you just have to have that hunger to want to tell good stories. And I think, but you cannot let that escape you during this time. And just hang on to that.
Thank you so much for your wise words.
I feel old.
Out of the three, I think it's
definitely.
It's wise.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Yes, really appreciate it. And thank you as well for joining us. And we hope you've had an enjoyable 3 weeks, and we hope you had a meaningful and inspiring time today. And so if you want to check out the other films from City of Good and from NVPC, you can feel free to go on their website and Facebook page. So if you did have an enjoyable time with us, be sure to catch the last 2 events in Reflections over the next 2 days. Catch the live premiere of Strictly A Cappella by RP Republic Rhapsody tomorrow, and Reflections Closing Bash Global Local by RP Create Club on Friday. Both of these shows will be streamed on our YouTube channel at 8 p.m. Be sure to subscribe to our Instagram and Facebook page for more updates on Reflections 2020. Have a great night.